I've often talked about unconscious communication and instinctive responses to unconscious communication. Well, these arrows that I shot into this coconut head were unconscious communication. And here's the message. You see, both arrows hit the right upper part of this coconut's mouth, okay? And here's the right upper part of my mouth, okay? And I noticed, like a week ago, that suddenly the entire roof, let's call it, of my upper teeth became sore, okay? And I noticed when flossing, which is something I do every day, that the spaces between teeth had changed and that it was impossible to get the floss in between two teeth where they had always gone in between easily. In fact, I've never had a problem getting floss in between my teeth, and I use like medium-sized floss. And so it seems that the upper teeth in my mouth were being displaced. Okay, now, I have said that in my profile of these serial murderers in the suspected secret police of the United States, they have a microwave weapon that they've used and developed on me across 40 years. And along with that microwave weapon, they also have an ultrasound weapon that they've used and developed on me across 40 years. And I've said that in my profile on these serial murderers, I find a use of language, a play on language, that's often present in these murders. Here's an example. Ted Roop, okay, dies how? The jacks come off on the car he's working under. So you might say this is a play on the expression, he jacked off, okay? Well, he jacked off all right and he's dead. Now, why would this be important to these serial murderers? Well, this, along with some other symbols, constitutes the mark that these serial murderers leave on their murders. And wordplay of this kind is present, as you can see in the murder of Ted Roop. And here you can see the presence of the wordplay in this displacement of my upper teeth by a focusing of this microwave weapon on my mouth this way. Why would the serial murderers want to play on words this way when dealing with me? I have been talking about me being a student, if you will, at a distance, of the world famous literary critic and scholar Northrop Frye. And one of the most important terms in his way of looking at literature is this term displacement. So I'm saying this subtle harassment directed at my mouth, hopefully to get me to go to a dentist, on the way to these folks finding a way to get that electrode they put in a bottom tooth right rear of my mouth, getting that out of there so that they are not discovered that way. So I haven't been going to the dentist for a lot of reasons, and there you have these folks with their wordplay here displacing the upper teeth in my mouth, where I can clearly see that the spaces between my teeth have changed. They've been displaced. Okay, I want to show how, in my experience, this microwave weapon has been used to jostle me when walking, as if somebody pushed me. Okay? This has happened so often at this particular spot in our attic that I've marked the spot. Here it is. Okay? That's been marked for over a year, for sure. Why? Because I noticed that when walking through the attic, I'd as if get pushed when I were past this point, and I'd bang into the wall like this. Ow. I got a helmet on, I just banged my head on the wall like that. But that happens, not just now, I just did that on purpose, but that has happened so often when walking past this point that I marked the spot. And I'm saying that that microwave weapon has been used right here at this spot to push me that way. I've got other evidence where it's been used elsewhere in a similar manner. But I'm saying if these absolutely evil, suspected serial murderers can jostle me with their weapon that way, they can displace teeth in my mouth by focusing that thing, and I wouldn't have the language to put this in words. Causing the teeth to move in relation to each other, as I've tried to describe. I think that the idea that most of our communication is unconscious communication, I think that idea is a pretty well accepted idea these days. And I've been saying that because I was male raped while growing up, I acquired through these experiences, although they occurred in a way that I was not conscious of their occurring. They occurred while I was asleep. My medical doctor father found a way to do this to me. The only other example I've seen of this kind of thing is a dentist apparently put patients to sleep, I think with some form of, I don't know, a gas of some kind, or whatever anesthesia he used to put patients to sleep. He sexually molested these were women patients while they were asleep, and no one knew he had done this until somebody found a video or videos he made of these rapes that he performed on these patients. He recorded his own rapes, and somebody found the video or videos he'd made that would land him in jail for these crimes. So, I don't know how these rapes played out in the life of his victims. However, that's the only example I know where anesthesia was being used as a way a medical doctor could rape a patient without the patient's knowledge. Now, in my case, just as in the case of those women who were victims of this dentist, I don't believe those women had any idea they had been raped. I don't. The discovery of the crime came from the discovery of the videotape or videotapes this dentist had made, I believe, but I have not checked up on this story, and so my knowledge of what happened there is sketchy. In my case, I had no idea these rapes had happened to me, but my experiences in life kept telling me over and over and over that something like this had been happening to me. And the way that these experiences were telling me was what I would call unconscious communication, like what I'm showing has happened here when I've shot these arrows into this coconut head. Now, I shot the arrows into the coconut head, and I noticed that two of the arrows hit in almost the exact same spot, the corner of this coconut's head's mouth, at a time when I was beginning to experience odd sensations in my mouth, right at that point in my mouth. So several days passed, and this unconscious communication starts to become conscious with its message telling me, AJ, you see the way you shot that coconut head and landed those arrows in the same spot? You're telling yourself that this soreness and this odd feeling in your mouth and the displacement of your teeth in their positions in relation to each other is actually being caused by a weapon like this, your bow, being directed at your mouth. Now, let me try to conclude this update on my suspected serial murderers, okay? I've been saying that wordplay of a kind is one of the marks that these serial murderers leave to show that they are the authors of a murder. Now, in the case of Ted Roop, we have the wordplay, he jacked off, because jacks somehow come off the car he's working under and he's crushed. But what happens to me in 1982 in the attempted murder of me? Okay, I said before that this is like a wordplay on Italian, okay? Somebody speaking with an Italian accent. If an Italian was going to say, like my Italian grandfather was going to say, he got shot, okay? You see what I'm saying? Well, if he was talking about somebody who got shot by a gun, right, he might say it this way, he got a shot, okay? And what happened to me in 1982? I got a shot. This time it was not a gun. It was an injection in my my left upper arm that was radiation poisoning, in my opinion. And so, I got a shot. That's wordplay of the kind I'm talking about here. So, let me say that going way back in the decade now that we've been, me and my wife have been facing these suspected serial murderers in harassments all over the United States. One of their favorites going way back was to flip my phone, because I might be making a recording like this one into the phone, and they didn't like it at all. So what would they do? They'd flip this phone into this, I think it's an app for handicapped people of one kind or another, and it's called TalkBack, okay? They'd flip the phone into TalkBack while I'm driving and making a recording like this one. Now that phone I can't operate it, because the way this thing works is, this TalkBack thing is, it's too complex for me to describe. I never figured it out, but to get that TalkBack off my phone, I'd have to find a way to pull over. That means if I'm driving down a highway, and I often was at that time, I'd have to take the next exit, come off the highway, find a place to park, and then look up how to get that thing off my phone. Anyway, there was the irony. TalkBack, we don't like what you're saying. TalkBack, okay? And they would flip my phone into that. This was a frequent thing that they were doing. I chose that. Why would my phone flip into that TalkBack for no reason while I'm driving down the highway? These were the suspected serial murderers who have been following me around the country, harassing me and my wife for a decade now. I'm saying these are members of the United States Secret Police. And there's my summary and update for today. The 6th of July, 2026, at this time. About 8:45 a.m. Bye for now.